The Armed Forces of the Philippines warns the public against joining demonstrations that are organized by left-leaning groups. Grace Casin tells us why.
Armed Forces of the Philippines Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations Brigadier General Antonio Parlade Jr. tells public to be cautious in participating in street marches, especially those that are organized by the group linked to the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army. In an exclusive interview with UNTV News and Rescue, Parlade claimed that the communist rebels are planning to sow chaos during a protest rally and blamed the incident on the administration.
Mag-attend sila ng mga rallies, tingnan nila kung sinong nag-organize ng mga rallies. When you see those acronyms, LFS, Gabriela na yan, yung karapatan na yan, these are communist organizations. Malinaw po yun. Malinaw yun. So, yun ang mga ingatan nila.
But Gabriela Women's Party strongly denies the allegation of Parlade, saying it violates the freedom of expression. Still, Gabriela Party List Representative Arlene Brosas encourages the public to join them in conducting protests to urge the government to address the rising prices of basic commodities.
Pinubusalan nito ng todo ang mga tao, no? Pati kaya tinatakot, pinangungunahan na takutin ang mga tao na huwag kayong magsalita laban sa gobyerno na ito.
AFP meanwhile assures the public it is still safe for them to go to public places, despite the alleged plot called Red October by the left, culminating in the ouster of President Rodrigo Duterte.
We have enough security personnel and intelligence also to monitor other places.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Labor and Employment is verifying reports on the surge of illegal Chinese workers in the Philippines. The agency also plans to launch a crackdown against them. Joanano tells us why.
The Department of Labor and Employment expresses concern over the growing number of Chinese nationals working in the country without the necessary legal documents.
It is therefore possible that a significant number of Chinese nationals working here are working without permit.
Bello adds they are now verifying reports on the surge of illegal Chinese workers in the Philippines and are planning to launch a crackdown against them. Based on DOLE's record, there are around 51,980 Chinese nationals granted with work permits in the country since 2015. The issue was uncovered after Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon mentioned in a Senate hearing that there are around 400,000 foreign workers in the country. According to DOLE's record, there were only about 115 foreign nationals granted employment permits so far. Bello agrees that granting employment permits to foreign nationals should not be done in haste as it depends only on the skills on demand.
Binibigyan namin sila ng permit to work.
Okay.
Pero ang binibigyan lang namin ng permit to work ay yung magtatrabaho ng isang klaseng trabaho na hindi kaya ng Pilipino. Pag may Pilipino na kayang gawin yung trabaho yun, hindi namin ibibigay yung alien employment permit.
The Secretary says DOLE is not the only agency responsible for a foreign job applicant. A work visa is provided by the Bureau of Immigration. Workers in the mining industry are subject to the approval of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DNR. Bello vows to look into the agency's compliance requirements, even up to their respective regional offices, to confirm if the granted alien employment permits were reasonable.
Aalamin namin kung nabigyan nila ng AAP ay binigay sa isang Chinese na gagawa ng trabaho na hindi kaya gawin ng Pilipino. Kasi kung pag malaman namin na nagbigay sila ng permit, halimbawa magluto ng pansit, sa Chinese, kayang-kaya naman lutuin niya ni Undersecretary maglusod, violation ng aming regulation yan.
Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
And for our personality in focus, Congressman Gary Alejano says President Rodrigo Duterte is creating more problems in the country instead of addressing them. He also clarifies that he has complied with the requirements of his amnesty application in connection with the Manila Peninsula and Oakwood incidents and tackles his insights on the current state of the armed forces. Here's Charlie Barredo to tell us why.
Magdalo Party List Representative Gary Alejano believes that President Rodrigo Duterte is creating more problems for the country instead of addressing them. Yesterday, the president seemed to have admitted that his only sin was the extrajudicial killings that boosted Alejano's previous public allegation. June 6 last year, Alejano, together with Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, filed a supplemental communication with the International Criminal Court in The Hague, saying it was time for the International Tribunal to step in and investigate President Duterte in his bloody campaign against illegal drugs.
Example yung mga pamilya na libu-libong namatayan under the war on drugs, regardless whether they're guilty or not. Makakahanap ba sila ng hustisya sa pulis? Makakahanap ba sila ng hustisya sa Department of Justice? Hindi. Saan nila hahanapin ito? Dahil hindi sila makahanap ng hustisya sa loob ng konstitusyon, malaki ang posibilidad na hanapin nila ito sa labas.
On the issue on Trillanes' arrest and amnesty revocation, Alejano stated that he is not worried that he might be the next target of the administration because he has complied with the requirements.
Maliwanag lang ito na political persecution sa bahagi ng Pangulo.
The lawmaker stressed that the admission of guilt is already contained in the application form, where it is clear that he, the applicant, participated in the Manila Peninsula and Oakwood incidents. He, however, clarified that he cannot concede to the case of coup d'etat and rebellion.
Ang sinasabi kasi nila, hindi daw in-acknowledge yung kaso naming coup d'etat at saka rebellion. Well, we cannot admit that. No? Pinapaliwanag naman namin because those crimes were alleged to us. And crimes have elements in it. So you have to prove first that you've indeed violated those crimes. But definitely we have violated laws. Kasi mahirap yung sabihin, aminin namin yan, inalledge yan sa amin yun eh. Pero kung may na-violate, yes.
The congressman also urged the armed forces to speak out so that the truth will prevail.
So ang challenge namin nga sa armed forces, marami sa kanilang witnesses doon. Nag-execute ng affidavit ang former Undersecretary Honorio Escueta and the head of the Secretariat, Colonel Berbigal. They have received the application form. They processed it and they determined that it complied with the requirements. So, the challenge to the armed forces is, alam yung katotohanan. Kayo nagtatago niyan. Kayo lamang makapagpalabas niyan.
Meanwhile, the congressman surmised that corruption in the military has abated after their protests.
Nagiging open ang armed forces for investigation. Nagiging open sila sa pagdinig ng mga grievances. Hindi na yung bahala ka, maghintay ka na lang, no? So yung pabaon system, na-address din yan. And yung mga resources na pool lang sa headquarters ay na-download yan sa front lines. Yung mga combat equipment and individual clothing ay na-address, especially yung iconic na boots na ginagamit, ano? And then yung mga priority sa mga sundalong natamaan, yung housing program sa mga sundalo, yun lahat ay nalabas yun. We're not demanding loyalty from them because we want them to be loyal to the Constitution and to the Filipino people. Not to us or even to the President, because all the help that we are doing and giving to the armed forces did not come from our pockets. It comes from the Filipino people.
When asked if he believes that the new People's Army rebel force will be destroyed by next year, and if he thinks that the military has the capability to realize this, this is what the lawmaker had to say.
With the proper and focused national security policy direction, yes. But right now, nakikita ko, malabo siya. Sabog ang direction ng gobyerno. No? Hindi siya coordinated. The military cannot do it alone. Di ba? Kaya nagmang-martial law siya, binibigay lahat sa military, binibigay ng lahat ng attention. You cannot do that alone. You have to involve all the stakeholders, and we should address the root causes of the problems.
Notwithstanding what happened to those who have opposed the current administration, Alejano confirmed that his run for Senate in 2019 will still push through.
No, hindi. Ang aming pagtakbo, regardless of the situation, regardless of the surveys, hindi naman ho kasi kami politiko.
Charlie Barreto, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Judicial and Bar Council will open the nomination for the Supreme Court Chief Justice position beginning Saturday, September 29. According to Justice Secretary Minato Guevara, an ex-official member of the JBC, the deadline for submission of requirements for those interested in the post will be on October 15. Under JBC rules, only nominations with a letter of acceptance from the nominee will be processed. The JBC will be vetting nominations and applications for the Chief Justice position as Chief Justice Teresita Leonardo de Castro reaches the mandatory retirement of 70 on October 8. Makati Regional Trial Court Branch 148 Judge Andres Soriano delays issuing his decision on the Justice Department's appeal for an issuance of an arrest warrant and whole departure order against Senator Antonio Trillanes IV. Mai Bermudez will tell us why.
Judge Andres Soriano of Makati RTC Branch 148 sets the hearing on the Department of Justice's plea for an arrest warrant and whole departure order against Senator Antonio Trillanes IV on October 5. The judge postponed issuing his decision as he still wants to tackle the arguments of both camps.
On October 5, there will be a hearing for the reception of the parties' evidence. For the reception of the parties' evidence regarding the following factual issue. Yun nga, yung dalawang issues, whether or not Trillanes filed the requisite application for amnesty under Proclamation number 75 before he was granted amnesty in 2011, and whether or not there was an admission of guilt on his part at the time he applied for and was granted amnesty.
At past 2 in the afternoon today, Judge Soriano left his office and refused to answer whether or not he'll issue his decision within the day. Meantime, just outside the Makati City Hall, members of the group Tindig Pilipinas showed support for the embattled legislator. Their plea uphold the rule of law, side with the Constitution, and to avoid Senator Trillanes' arrest. It was on Wednesday when the DOJ submitted their comment to implement President Duterte's Proclamation 572. Branch 148 took jurisdiction over Trillanes' coup case in relation to the 2003 Oakwood Mutiny. The trial, however, was halted in 2011 due to the amnesty given by former President Benigno Aquino III. According to Senator Trillanes, Judge Soriano's decision left him with no choice but to leave the Senate premises and go home.
So, I'm very, very grateful po. Ngayon, nais ko ring sabihin na with this order, I will now go home. I will now leave the Senate premises.
Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The Commission on Elections will not extend the voter registration period for the 2019 midterm elections after its last day tomorrow. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
The Commission on Elections announces that there will be no extension of the voter registration period set to end on tomorrow, September 29. As per COMELEC Resolution number 10392 dated June 19, the voting registration began last July 2 for the May 2019 midterm elections. This will be followed by the filing of Certificate of Candidacy from October 11 to 17. COMELEC officials say they are expecting long queues in the last days of registration, so they advise applicants to be patient.
I just hope that people who come to register tomorrow will be aware na talagang mahaba ang pila, no? And that there will probably be people who might not get the result that they want. So maybe next time come earlier.
Applicants should also bring original and photocopies of their valid IDs to be presented when registering, reactivating, or requesting to transfer their registration record. The Commission also reminds applicants that cedula, barangay and police clearance and homeowners association ID are not considered as valid ID. Annalyn Cruz is among those who rushed to a COMELEC office in Manila to register. She was unable to vote in the recent local elections because her name was not in the voters list.
Dapat ang bawat may nakalaan na bawat distrito para ang tao hindi nakakagulong ganyan, no?
Jimenez say the election officer in a registration center has the discretion to decide whether or not to extend the cutoff time for voters to get registered on the last day.
Depend on the people on the ground. Makita nila kung napakaraming tao. Usually, they make adjustments kasi. They make adjustments on, sa process na para ma-increase yung number ng magpaparehistro sa kanila.
COMELEC says there are several satellite registration sites in select areas, but if applicants are residing near a COMELEC office, they should file their applications personally at the offices of the election officer of cities, districts, or towns where they reside. The process also would not seem tedious if applicants would only devote some time and to register early. Registration sites are open from 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. Aiko Miguel, UNTV, News and Rescue, Manila.
The Commission on Elections will hold a special voters registration in Marawi City from October 1 to 15. Applicants seeking to register, reactivate, or transfer their records may visit the city elections office from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. COMELEC earlier postponed the voter registration in Marawi due to the security situation in the war-torn city. The Commission also clarifies that those who were able to find their applications from November 7, 2016 to April 29, 2017 no longer need to participate in the upcoming special voters registration. Top Malacanang officials defend President Rodrigo Duterte after the latter issued another controversial remark on alleged extrajudicial killings in the country. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte was only making a spontaneous remark when he said that his only sin is the spate of extrajudicial killings being linked to his administration. In a speech Thursday, the president seemed to have admitted that extrajudicial killings have happened in his administration, though he did not expound what he meant by his statement.
What are your sins? Ako? Sabi mo sa military, anong kasalanan ko? Nagnakaw ba ako dyan? Ni piso? Sino? Did I prosecute somebody na pinakulong ko? Ang kasalanan ko lang, yung mga extrajudicial killing.
Critics said Duterte's statement was an admission of guilt. United Nations Special Rapporteur on Extrajudicial Execution Agnes Calamard also said his remark is an extraordinary statement of a head of state. She even provided a translation of it, saying President Duterte is imposing unthinkable sufferings on thousands of vulnerable families, emboldening corrupt policing and destroying the rule of law. But according to top palace officials, the president was not serious when he made a remark. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said in a radio interview that the chief executive is just being himself, being playful but highlighting he is not corrupt. Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Attorney Salvador Panelo also offered an explanation, saying Duterte meant that the only issue against him was the spate of extrajudicial killings under his leadership. He also said that the president's dialect should also be taken into consideration. When asked if Duterte's supposed admission was self-incriminating, the presidential spokesperson replied in negative, saying it is not a sworn statement. The drug war launched by the Duterte administration has been widely criticized due to thousands of drug-related killings. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The Philippine National Police maintains there is no case of extrajudicial killings under the government's campaign against illegal drugs, despite the growing number of drug-related killings. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
As far as the Philippine National Police is concerned, there has been no case of extrajudicial killings under the Duterte administration. According to PNP Director General Oscar Albayalde, police officers were not mandated to kill drug suspects under the government's war on drugs.
In fairness to the President and even to the former Chief PNP, Bato de la Rosa, wala pong binigay sa amin na order whatsoever na para pumatay. Even yung mga suspects, even yung mga drug dependents, or even yung mga criminal.
This week, the PNP reported that more than 4,800 drug personalities have been killed in over 100,000 legitimate anti-drug operations from July 1st, 2016 to August 31st, 2018. 155,000 drug suspects were arrested in the said operations. Albayalde says drug suspects get killed when they resist arrest or retaliate against police operatives. He also assures that policemen who get involved in a killing incidents are dealt with accordingly.
In fact, not even the Commission on Human Rights ay na-prove na may EJK during the time of President Duterte. I think since the time of the former Chief Bato ay wala ring na-prove na ganyan.
The PNP chief also defended President Rodrigo Duterte amid criticisms over his latest statement on extrajudicial killings. Albayalde says the chief executive might only be expressing his frustration on the matter.
Out of frustration, sinabi na lang niya, alam niyo naman yung political atmosphere dito sa ating bansa. No? Every time, pag ikaw ay nakaupo dyan, palaging may binabato na kung ano-ano sa'yo. So since wala nang may bato sa kanya, so ito na lang paulit-ulit at history na kumbaga ito. At inuungkat na lang ng inuungkat yung word na EJK.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Strawberry farms in Benguet undergo rehabilitation after Typhoon Ompong ravaged the Cordillera region. Joannano tells us why.
Benguet farmers have begun repairing their strawberry and vegetable farms that were heavily damaged when Typhoon Ompong barreled through the Cordillera region. Strawberry planter Romy Abluyan says he needs to rehabilitate his farm to recover from huge losses he incurred and to resume the strawberry picking package that some farmers here offer to tourists.
Runot ang ito isang sukatan. Naramid pa tapno mulaan di strawberry. December. Yung hangin po.
Ang laki talaga ang epekto ng bagyong Ompong kasi lahat na news ay baha ang strawberry farm at saka yung nangyari sa Itogon.
Typhoon Ompong left around 4.1 billion pesos in agricultural damages, according to the report of the Department of Agriculture, Cordillera Administrative Region. Corn crops suffered 2.8 billion worth of damages, rice sector around 807 million pesos, high-value crops with 336 million, and livestock and poultry peg at 11.5 million. Some agri-infrastructures were also damaged, reaching up to 68 million pesos. The fisheries sector also sustained damages initially pegged at 21.8 million after Ompong washed out fishing vessels and ponds, based on the report of the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, Cordillera. Joannano, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, together with the Benguet local government unit, admits that they experienced difficulties in relocating families in the danger zone. Nel Marie Buhok will tell us why.
The group of miners once again met with the officials of the local government unit of Itogon Benguet regarding the stoppage order on small-scale mining and the forced evacuation that was implemented after the killer landslide in Barangay Uka, Binitogon. Jan Latongan, a miner, said that in 2009, a similar incident happened in Benguet where the landslide occurred and there were also casualties. Because of the incident, he said the DENR implemented a 1-month moratorium on mining. Jan said the local government has always experienced difficulties of implementing any stoppage order or relocation of families from the danger zone.
Mag-implement, di ba, local government? Anong gagawin ng mayor? Anong gagawin ng kapitan? Halimbawa, si gobernador. Kung paalisin nila yung mga tao, basta-basta.
Major parts of the danger zone are mining sites and most of the members of the families there are miners.
Yun ang problema kasi ako, yung pamilya ko, may nag-aaral na dalawa sa kolehiyo. Yung misis ko na nagda-dialysis ng 3 times a week.
It can also be recalled that in 2011, the Mines and Geosciences Bureau released their geohazard assessment report and gave a copy of that to the LGU. But the challenge that the LGU always encounters is finding relocation sites. The DENR admits that there is indeed a difficulty in implementing any relocation efforts of families as mining is their main source of livelihood.
Kailangan namin dito ang DILG, kapilisan, ganyan, lahat-lahat siguro dapat tumulong. Hindi lang yung basta nag-issue kami ng stoppage order kasi yun nga, wala naman kaming police power. So what we can do is dapat yung may role dyan will also help.
The DENR and the LGU hope for the full cooperation of the residents for their relocation. The DENR has also sent experts to the province to look for a place where permanent shelters can be built. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Itogon, Benguet.
The search and retrieval operations in the landslide-hit Tinaan village in the city of Naga in Cebu has been suspended due to the inclement weather. The Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office says this is to ensure the safety of aid workers involved in the perilous search. Local authorities have reported earlier that the number of retrieved bodies has already reached 67 while 22 others remain missing. Officials are also hopeful that more bodies will be recovered when the search operations resume. Authorities also say that the quarrying operations in Naga will remain suspended amid ongoing investigation on the cause of the landslide. Water concessionaires Manila and Manila Water are set to hike their rates in October after receiving a go signal from the Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System. Monokson explains why in this report.
Water consumers will have to pay more in their October bill after the Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System approved an upward adjustment in Manila and Manila water rates. Manila water consumers with monthly consumption of an average amount of below 10 cubic meters per month will see an increase of 5 pesos and 68 centavos in their bill next month. Those consuming 15 cubic meters and 25 cubic meters will have an adjusted cost of 9 pesos and 13 centavos and 19 pesos and 13 centavos respectively. Meanwhile, Manila customers consuming below 10 cubic meters or less will see a net increase of 2 pesos and 40 centavos in their October bill. Those consuming 10 to 30 cubic meters will see a hike of 6 pesos and 53 centavos and 13 pesos and 68 centavos. Water rate hikes will be implemented in tranches over the next 4 years, skipping 2019. MWSS Chief Regulator Patrick T. explains the staggered method of raising water rates will help consumers recover from the first rate hike. The approved rates are lower than the filed petition tariffs. MWSS says they did not include the corporate income tax, concession fee for Kaliwa Dam, and excess employee benefits in the water rate adjustments. Kaliwa Dam is a proposed project giving Metro Manila another source of water aside from the Angat Dam. The government has yet to finalize the funding source for the project. The inclusion of Maynilad's CIT was favored by the Court of Appeals in 2014. But MWSS sees it unfair for the consumers to pay the CIT while a case is pending at the Supreme Court. The MWSS official also defends their move, saying it went through 11 months of review, study, and hearings. The decision was supposed to be out last January but was deferred several times. Amid the increasing consumer prices, MWSS admits the rate adjustments will have an inflationary effect.
Kaya po nagkaroon ng rate adjustment po ngayon dahil kailangan na po nila. Umaaray na po sila dahil 10 years na po hindi nagkaroon ng rate adjustment sa R or sa rate rebasing.
MWSS also appeals to their clients to consume water responsibly. Meanwhile, a consumer group opposed the decision, saying the approved water rate hike is untimely.
Dapat ang mga ahensya ng pamahalaan sumunod sa utos ng Pangulo at tulong-tulungan sila nang sa ganon ma-temper ang inflation ng pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin. Hindi kung pase, mag-approve ka ng 6 pesos or 5 pesos per cubic meter, sigurado ang laki ng impact sa inflation.
The consumer group filed a complaint through the 888 Citizens Hotline number regarding the untimely water rate adjustments. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Another round of oil price adjustment looms next week. Oil industry players estimate that around 77 to 91 centavos will possibly be added to the price of gasoline per liter and more than 1 peso for diesel and kerosene. The Department of Energy still attributes the price hike to the escalating tensions between the United States and Iran.
Patuloy pa rin naman ang pagmamonitor ng Department of Energy sa kalakalan sa international market para makita natin na yung nangyayaring adjustment dito or development dala lang ng international development.
The House Committee on Natural Resources is pushing for the creation of a development authority in Boracay Island a few weeks before its set reopening on October 26. Authorities also vow to pay attention to the carrying capacity of the island. Let's find out why from Vincent Arboleda.
Authorities are working double time to prepare for the reopening of Boracay Island to visitors after its 6-month closure to undergo rehabilitation. The Boracay Interagency Task Force has set a dry run from October 15 to 25 to ensure that all will go well for the island's soft opening on October 26. During an inquiry led by the House Committee on Natural Resources, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources vowed to pay attention to the carrying capacity of the island to minimize damage to the environment. DENR says strictly managing the number of tourists to only 19,215 per day is crucial to the sustainability of Boracay. The agency has cited a study which states that the island's carrying capacity was beyond threshold, causing its environmental health and water quality to worsen. The DENR also revealed that based on experts' findings, the island's hotels and resorts catered more than the usual number of guests allowed to stay in Boracay. The total number of residents and workers prior to the island's closure has also breached its carrying capacity. The Interagency Task Force also reports that only 25 hotels and resorts out of more than 400 have complied with all the requirements to resume operations less than a month into its scheduled reopening. But according to Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat, they expect more establishments to complete the requirements after the island's reopening.
As we go along, kung may nag-comply with the DENR, DILG at DOT, madadagdagan siya, even after October 26.
The House Committee on Natural Resources is also pushing for the creation of a development authority in Boracay to help implement strict environmental policies and maintain optimal tourist numbers. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Boracay.